My aunt forged documents to steal my house while I was out of the country. She had no idea I'd installed cameras everywhere and recorded every single thing she did. When my mom died, she left me her house. It was the only thing I had left of her. My Aunt Linda thought she deserved it more because she was older, because she had kids, because she needed it. So she decided to take it. She didn't ask. She didn't negotiate. She just started forging paperwork and moving her stuff in while I was on a work trip overseas. What she didn't know was that I'd been suspicious of her for weeks, and I'd prepared for exactly this. What happened when I came home destroyed her reputation forever. My mom raised me by herself. My dad left when I was 3, and we never heard from him again. It was just me and her my whole childhood. We didn't have much money, but we had each other. She worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat and eventually saved enough to buy a small house when I was in high school. It wasn't fancy. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a tiny yard, but it was ours. My mom got sick when I was 25. Cancer. It happened fast. One day she was fine. The next she was in the hospital getting tests. 6 months later, she was gone. I was devastated. She was my best friend, my only real family. She left everything to me in her will. The house, her savings, everything. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough. The house was paid off, so I didn't have a mortgage. I had a place to live rent-free while I figured out my life after losing her. My Aunt Linda is my mom's older sister. They were never close. Linda always acted like she was better than my mom because she married someone with money and had 3 kids. My mom was a single parent struggling to get by, and Linda never let her forget it. She'd make comments at family gatherings about how my mom should have made better choices, how she should have stayed with my dad, how she should have focused on finding a husband instead of just working all the time. My mom ignored her mostly, but I hated Linda. I hated how she treated my mom, how she acted superior when really she was just cruel. After my mom died, Linda showed up at the house a lot. She'd bring food, help me sort through my mom's things, sit with me when I cried. I thought maybe she felt bad about how she'd treated my mom, that she was trying to make up for it by being there for me. But then she started making comments. She'd say things like the house was too big for just me, that I should think about selling it, that it would be easier to move on if I wasn't surrounded by memories. I told her I wasn't ready to think about that the house was the last piece of my mom I had left. She'd nod and change the subject, but she kept bringing it up. Every time she came over, she'd mention how I didn't really need this much space, how her kids were getting older and cramped in their current house, how it would be nice if they had more room. I started to realize she wasn't just making conversation. She wanted the house. She thought she deserved it more than me. One day, about 3 months after my mom passed, Linda sat me down and said we needed to talk seriously. She said she knew I loved the house, but it didn't make sense for me to keep it. That I was young and mobile and could live anywhere. That she had a family and needed stability. She offered to buy it from me for way below market value. I said no. I wasn't selling. The house was mine and I was keeping it. She got this look on her face. Not angry exactly, more like annoyed, like I was being difficult on purpose. She said I was being selfish, that my mom would have wanted the house to go to family who really needed it. I told her I was family. She said I knew what she meant. I asked her to leave. She did, but she wasn't happy about it. After that, things got weird. She'd call me asking about paperwork related to the house, deed information, property tax stuff. Random questions that didn't make sense. I answered some of them, but started getting suspicious. Why did she need to know this stuff? Then I got offered a work project overseas. 3 months in Japan, helping set up a new office for my company. It was a huge opportunity, and the pay was great. I almost said no because I didn't want to leave the house empty, but my friend convinced me to go, said it would be good for me to get away, to have a change of scenery. I hired a property management company to check on the house while I was gone. I also installed security cameras, one at the front door, one at the back, and one in the living room. I told myself it was just for peace of mind, but really, I was worried about Linda. I left for Japan in September. The first 2 weeks were fine. I'd check the cameras occasionally, and everything looked normal. Then one day, I logged in and saw Linda's car in my driveway. I watched the footage. She was trying different keys in the front door lock. None of them worked. She left after about 20 minutes. Then, one day I logged in and saw Linda's car in my driveway. I watched the footage. She was trying different keys in the front door lock. None of them worked. She left after about 20 minutes. I immediately changed my locks remotely through a smart lock system I'd installed. I also started checking the cameras multiple times a day. Over the next few weeks, Linda came by the house 4 more times. Each time, she'd try to get in. She'd walk around the perimeter, look in windows, try the back door. On the cameras, I could see her getting more frustrated each time. Then one day, I saw her with the locksmith. She told him she'd locked herself out of her sister's house and needed to get in. The locksmith opened the door for her. I watched on camera as Linda walked through my house like she owned it. She went room to room taking photos. She opened closets and cabinets. She was surveying the place. I called the property management company immediately. Told them someone had broken into my house. They said they'd send someone to check it out. By the time they got there, Linda was gone. But she had been lying about this for years. Well, not exactly this, but she'd been lying about who she was. The caring aunt who wanted to help. Really, she'd been waiting for a chance to take what she thought should have been hers all along. I started getting emails from random legal offices asking me to verify information about the property. Questions about whether I was the rightful owner, whether there were any disputes about the will. I didn't respond to any of them, but I forwarded everything to my lawyer. My lawyer called me and said something weird was happening. Someone was filing paperwork claiming there was an error in my mom's will, that the house should have gone to Linda instead of me, that my mom had verbally promised Linda the house before she died. I told my lawyer that was complete nonsense. My mom's will was clear. Everything went to me. There was no verbal promise. My lawyer said not to worry, that these claims had no merit, but someone was definitely trying something. I had no idea the full extent of their betrayal. It wasn't just Linda being entitled. She was actively trying to steal my house through legal fraud. Then, about 6 weeks into my trip, I checked the cameras and saw a moving truck in front of my house. I watched in real time as Linda and her family started unloading furniture. They were moving into my house, while I was on the other side of the world. I called the police immediately, told them someone was breaking into my property. They sent officers out. I watched on camera as the police arrived and talked to Linda. She showed them some kind of document. They looked at it, talked to her for a few minutes, then left. They didn't make her leave. They didn't arrest her. They just left. I called the police department, demanding to know what happened. They said Linda had shown them documentation, proving she had legal right to the property, that there was an ongoing dispute, and until it was resolved, they couldn't forcibly remove her. I was furious. I called my lawyer, freaking out. She said Linda must have forged some kind of legal document, possibly a fake deed or a fraudulent court order. She said we needed to act fast. That's when I realized I had everything on camera. Every time Linda came to the house, the locksmith breaking in, her surveying the rooms, the moving truck, all of it, every single second was recorded. I downloaded all the footage and sent it to my lawyer. Hours and hours of video evidence showing Linda's entire scheme. My lawyer said this was exactly what we needed, that we could use this to not only get her out of the house but potentially press criminal charges for fraud and trespassing. I also found out through some digging that Linda had been telling family members I'd abandoned the house, that I'd moved to Japan permanently and didn't want it anymore, that my mom would be heartbroken to see it sitting empty. She'd built this whole narrative to justify taking it. She'd told her kids the house was theirs now. They'd moved in and started redecorating, painting walls, rearranging furniture, throwing out my mom's things I'd specifically kept because they meant something to me. Gone in the trash. I was done being calm. I was done being reasonable. Linda had crossed every line possible. She'd lied, committed fraud, and was actively destroying my mom's memory by erasing her from that house. I booked a flight home. I was coming back 2 months early, and Linda had no idea. I landed on a Thursday morning and went straight to my lawyer's office. We'd been preparing everything while I was still in Japan. We had the camera footage organized into a timeline. We had the forged documents Linda had filed. We had statements from the locksmith saying Linda had lied to him. We had everything we needed to destroy destroy her. We filed an emergency court order that afternoon, requested immediate removal of the occupants, and filed criminal complaints for fraud, forgery, and trespassing. The hearing was set for the next morning. That night, I went to the house. Linda's car was in the driveway. Lights were on inside. I could see through the windows that she'd completely redecorated. My mom's furniture was gone. The walls were different colors. It didn't even look like the same house. I didn't knock. I just sat in my car across the street and waited for morning. The hearing started at 9. Linda showed up with her own lawyer looking confident. She thought she was going to win, that her fake documents would hold up, that I was just a grieving daughter who didn't understand legal processes. The judge asked her to present her case. Her lawyer showed the forged deed and a fake document claiming my mom had amended her will verbally before death. They had fake witness signatures. The whole thing was elaborate. Then it was our turn. My lawyer pulled up the camera footage on a screen in the courtroom. We showed everything. Linda trying to break in multiple times. Linda with the locksmith lying about being locked out. Linda taking photos of the interior like she was planning something. Linda directing the moving truck. All of it. When I showed them the evidence, everything changed. The judge's face went from neutral to angry. Linda's lawyer looked shocked. Linda herself went pale. My lawyer then showed the timeline of Linda's fake legal filings, how she'd created false documents while I was overseas and couldn't easily respond, how she'd lied to police and filed fraudulent claims with the county recorder's office. The judge ruled immediately, ordered Linda and her family out of the house within 24 hours, granted me full possession and control, then asked the county prosecutor if they wanted to pursue criminal charges. They said yes. Linda tried to argue, said she'd only done it because she needed the house, because I didn't appreciate it, because her kids needed space. The judge cut her off and said need doesn't justify fraud, that she'd committed serious crimes and would face consequences. I left the courtroom and went straight to the house with a police escort. Linda and her family were packing when we arrived. She wouldn't look at me. Her kids were crying. Her husband looked furious, but they packed and they left. I walked through the house after they were gone. They'd done so much damage. Holes in walls from where they'd hung things, carpet stains, broken fixtures. My mom's things were nowhere to be found. They'd thrown everything away. I stood in the living room and cried, not because Linda had tried to steal the house, but because she'd erased my mom from it. She'd taken the last physical space where my mom existed and destroyed it. Linda was charged with multiple counts of fraud and forgery. She pled guilty to avoid trial and got 2 years probation, community service, and had to pay me restitution for damages to the house. Her reputation in the family was destroyed. Everyone knew what she'd done. Her kids won't talk to her. Her husband left her 6 months later. She lost friends, respect, everything, all because she thought she deserved something that wasn't hers. I spent the next year restoring the house. I found some of my mom's things at a donation center where Linda had dumped them. I repainted the walls, the original colors. I replaced what I couldn't find. I made it home again. My relationship with the rest of my family changed. People who'd been neutral before were now firmly on my side. They'd seen what Linda was capable of, how she'd lied and manipulated and committed crimes just to get what she wanted. Linda tried to reach out once through a mutual family member, said she was sorry, that she'd made a mistake, that she hoped I could forgive her someday. I didn't respond. There's nothing to say. She didn't make a mistake. She made a calculated decision to steal from me, and she only regretted it because she got caught. What I learned from this is that you can't trust people just because they're family. That entitlement makes people do terrible things, and that documentation and evidence are everything. If I hadn't installed those cameras, Linda might have succeeded. She might have stolen my house, and I would have had no way to prove what really happened. I still live in that house. I'll probably live here forever. It's not about the property value or the space. It's about keeping the last piece of my mom alive, the last place where her memory lives. And not Linda or anyone else, will ever take that from me again. The cameras are still installed. I check them regularly, not because I'm paranoid, but because I learned the hard way that people will try to take what's yours if they think they can get away with it, and I'm never going to let that happen again. Subscribe if you've ever dealt with entitled family members who thought they deserved what was yours. Retry.